Thanks, Natalie, for starting the session. Hi, everybody. My name is Majid. I hope you all doing well. Just for your information, the session is being recorded, so we can obviously put it on social media. If anybody has any questions regarding the recording, please do let us know via the chat functionality. And Natalie, if you want to start with the first question, please.
Okay, so we've had quite a lot of questions that were similar. Obviously, a lot of questions asking about migrating from direct access to always on VPN. So I've sort of amalgamated those into the first question is kind of two parts. So we've got, can you tell us a bit about migrating from direct access? And also, can you tell us about migrating from direct access to always on VPN on server 2012?
Thanks, Natalie. That's a very, very good question. So, yes, in terms of migrating the existing direct access to always on VPN, all we have to do is it has to be a parallel migration. That's what we recommend and suggest, and that's what Microsoft also recommend. So it is we can achieve this one. I understand some customers have asked the question about whether this could be done as in a live migration, and I think that's possible. When I say possible, provided we have set up everything following the guidelines. So what needs to happen? There are a few steps we need to follow. So if you have already a direct access in place, we will ask you to, depending on whether you want to go with the physical or virtual setup, we will set up a parallel always on VPN infrastructure that would not interfere with the existing direct access. Obviously, you would have to choose, we will plan everything, we will review your infrastructure, we will go through all the prerequisites. Once the server side is set up, then we will start configuring the certificates, authentication requirements, number of tunnels needed. And then once the server side has been set up, then we will use a few computers or users to test if that parallel system is working fully. Once that's been done, then we will start migrating the existing direct access computers onto the new system, and that's where the live migration takes place, and that's possible. What we have to do is we have to provision the VPN tunnels we have decided and we have configured, and those VPN tunnels can be provisioned either a PowerShell, running a PowerShell script, or preferably it would be a SCCM, or it could be Intune via Intune. There is no group policy way of deploying this one, because obviously the always on VPN is kind of Microsoft has made it cloud ready, cloud compatible, integrated with the cloud. It integrates well with the cloud functionality features, which we will talk about later as well. So that's how it works. So we will start, and once the live migration, so basically once a machine has a direct access configuration and a VPN profile provisioned, at that point we can just remove the direct access settings by the way of removing its group membership from that group. So it will remove that group policy, and then it will have the VPN already sitting ready to connect. So that's what will happen. And yes, we've been doing this. It's been quite a long time. We have been migrating our users from existing VPNs to existing direct access to to always on VPN by setting up new infrastructure. So that's quite common scenario, and we've been doing this with our existing customers.
Okay, thanks, Majid. So the next question, how does always on VPN meet UK government requirements?
That's also a very important question, especially for our public sector customers. We have been working with direct access in terms of meeting the compliance set by NCSC, in terms of setting up specific requirements for securing the connection. So with the direct access, we've been running some script PCN compliance checks. So the same thing we can do with the always on VPN. VPN by protecting the IPsec communication, because obviously what the government is recommending to protect, use the IPsec, which is the IKE2 using IPsec cryptography settings, and they have suggested two profiles. One is a prime and one is a foundation. They used to be called interim and end state. So we can support, Microsoft can support RSA or elliptic curve algorithm depending on which category the public sector organization would fall in, and we can achieve that requirement without a problem by customizing the IPsec profiles. And also that the same thing can be applied for if you decide for a SSTP tunnel, which is another tunnel which is a Microsoft proprietary equivalent to SSL, and that we can also use their recommended settings, for example, making sure TLS 1.2 is enabled and all weak ciphers and protocols been disabled. So pretty much we've been doing this as well with our customers, and we can follow all the guidelines the UK government has provided in that document to protect the endpoint. Also, there is a managed channel configuration, because it varies from organization to organization, but the server-side hardening, the VPN tunnel hardening, the connection hardening, all these things pretty much we've been doing with all customers.
Okay, thank you. On to the next question. How do you enable two-factor authentication over always-on VPN?
That is also another important question. We just need to make sure that we understand in always-on VPN, we have two types of tunnel. So if you are familiar with DirectAccess, in DirectAccess, you have IP HTTPS wrapper. I mean, I'm just using IP HTTPS because that is the common transitioning technology which most customers are using, although there are two other available, 624 and Trido. So within an IP HTTPS, there are two subsequent tunnels. These are IPsec tunnels, and just want to give you a background. So one tunnel is called infrastructure tunnel, which initiates immediately before the login screen, yeah, and that's why it gives the device access to the infrastructure, such as domain AD, domain controller, DNS server, management servers, etc., etc. And once the user logs on to the DirectAccess computer, then the second IPsec tunnel would kick in, and that is the user tunnel or intranet tunnel. The same thing Microsoft has provided under always-on VPN functionality-wise. However, there we have the flexibility to customize and choose whether we want one tunnel or two tunnels. So in terms of 2FA, if the 2FA is available, is possible, we can achieve this by way of integrating radius into the Microsoft provided NPS server. So what happens normally, depending on the vendor you have, and we can integrate any OTP, any of the EAP types, because it supports quite a range of EAP types. So always-on VPN user tunnel can be supported for additional factors. However, the device tunnel can only use, because it runs within a device or system context. So that's why we can't use any second factor authentication. So so the question, to answer to that question, yes, but it will only be applicable for user tunnel.
Okay, great, thank you. Next question, does always-on VPN include device posture, in brackets health check, before devices can connect?
Okay, that is a very, very good question as well. So again, I just wanted to explain here as well that this is possible. This is supported. As I said, the always-on VPN is integrated into Azure. So the device posture health check can be performed using the Azure Conditional Access combined with the device compliance feature, which is also available within the Intune. There are quite a few nice security best practices templates which you can configure, and that combined, or just a single Azure Conditional Access can be triggered when the client will initiate the user tunnel. Again, I repeat, it is only with the user tunnel this functionality is possible. So what will happen once the user logs onto the device, and then if we set up, if we have a conditional access set up on the endpoint, then the device will start to communicate with the Azure, and then the health attestation service will communicate, and Azure will provide will do a health check depending on what parameters you have set. Once the device meets and passes that health check and any other conditional access policies, then a short-lived 60-minute certificate will be issued, which will be used as within a user context to present to the VPN server, and the VPN server will pass it on to the NPS server, and the user will be authenticated, and that process will continue like after every 55 minutes or something or so. The same thing will happen, and the device and the user will get another certificate. So yes, this is pretty much a very common scenario nowadays, and as I said, it is only available with the user tenant.
Okie doke. Next question. Can you discuss endpoint management and integration with SCCM?
Yes, so SCCM, all these third-party, even MDM solutions you can manage the endpoints using MDM, Intune, or system center configuration, and you can provision all the tunnels, whether it's the user tunnel or a device tunnel. The only distinguish is the device tunnel needs to be provisioned within a system context, and the user tunnel has to be published as within the user environment.
Okay. Can you provide details on transition from DirectAccess to Always VPN, assuming parallel build intro?
Yes, so as I explained right at the start, so we will set up, there is no disruption. So the DirectAccess system, which is already in place, will continue to work. We will set up additional always on VPN setup or servers, and then the migration will take place. Initial testing will be conducted, and once everything is in place, then we will start migrating the DirectAccess computers by just provisioning VPN tunnels and removing their DirectAccess settings, and that could happen while the users are remote or even already connected.
Okay. Can you give details on licensing or support info if we are currently with Celestix using DirectAccess? Is this a supported transition, and for how long?
Yes, this is supported. We will allow our existing DirectAccess customers to migrate to always on VPN if they have a physical box or a virtual appliance. We will repurpose those appliances. So as long as they have a valid support contract, we will honor that, and we will transfer their appliance with always on VPN. Like, we will just repurpose, and all they have to do is just to pay for the continued support and the professional services. That's it. There will be no appliance cost. They don't have to buy additional appliance. Again, we will have to review this at some point and how long we're going to continue. But at the moment, we haven't decided, and it's still on. Like, we would want our existing DirectAccess customers to migrate to the always on VPN, because that would be something that Microsoft is now seeing as the future technology.
Okay, thank you. This next question says, we had apps which didn't work over DirectAccess, which we assume was not supported on IPv6, so we had to set up RDP farm. Would we expect these to work if we switch to always on VPN?
Yeah, that's obviously one of them. The advantage of always on VPN over DirectAccess is that it supports a dual stack. Like, we can have IPv4 or IPv6. Like with the majority of the customers, because at the moment we are still using IPv4, so that addresses all these problems where where customers still have client or still have an application which is not IPv6 aware or compatible. So to answer that question, yes, it will pretty much be like, because you will be having IPv4 all the way from the client to the destination. So it will be as like you sitting within your office, but you are basically being routed through the VPN server. So yes, that is a pretty much supported scenario, and that's one of the reasons why you should migrate from DirectAccess to always on VPN, because with the DirectAccess it's only IPv6 between client and the server, and then server performs a NAT64 translation, and that obviously the application still has to support IPv6.
Okay. What load balancer would you recommend with always on VPN?
With the DirectAccess, the Microsoft has provided the built-in functionality to configure load balancing and multi-site. With the Always on VPN, Microsoft has not done so, and I think obviously you can say whether it's good or bad, but I think personally, I think it's a good thing that Microsoft has not included that feature, because that allows us the freedom to do things without making any changes to the existing server. So I'll just give you an example. If with the DirectAccess you have to make a change with the load balancer, like you want to move it to from Windows to external, or you want to enable multi-site, you have to do everything. You have to disrupt your communication, and that could also impact your live production workforce, which is already using that. So with the Always on VPN, we have the flexibility to basically just put these servers behind any load balancer. And I think we've been working with Camp on our recent migrations and recent use cases, and I think that we think Camp is a very good fit. The Camp provide very simple management. It has pre-configured templates which are very easy to use. Like they have a template for DirectAccess. They have a number of templates. I'm just talking about Always on VPN DirectAccess. So they have templates for Always on VPN which are very easy to download from their website. You can configure all the basic values, and it's ready to go. So we have deployed a number of cases because we can provide the Always on VPN as a service. So we can also help you set up your PKI system. We can also have Camp included within the service, and we can also provide appliances. So anything which has a dependency on the Always on VPN, we can provide that service along with the package.
Okay. Does Always on VPN support manage out? If yes, does this require any additional setup, like in DirectAccess, where, I'm not sure how to say this, ISATAP could be used to achieve this?
Yeah, that's also another good question. And there was obviously a requirement with the DirectAccess that the customers would want to troubleshoot, maintain the endpoints once they are connected over the DirectAccess, and it was only possible if you have configured the communication from inside to the endpoints, and that's how it was achieved via ISATAP. That's what the acronym was. So yes, in the DirectAccess, because it was IPv6 communication, so that's why it was possible. It was not possible. Obviously, it would require additional configuration. In Always on VPN, that is possible, that is available on the device tunnel. As I said, because I think we briefly discussed on Always on VPN tunnel, so I'll just give you a little bit more background that why would you choose a device tunnel or user tunnel, or whether you go for two. So the device tunnel is as I said, it runs within a system context. It is preferable when you want to achieve a pre-login connectivity, like you don't want to allow cache credentials. That's one option, one tick box for using or keeping a device tunnel, and the second one is if you want to do manage out. So that is that's where if you want to perform manage out, like you don't want anybody logging onto the device and giving you the remote control, you can just have the device booted, powered on, and connected to the network. It will establish the device tunnel, and you can manage push software maintenance. So yes, the manage out is available out of the box as long as the routing, all the access is in place.
Thank you. Does Always on VPN, can it be set up as active backup, wherein if primary tunnel fails, then a backup can be fired up?
So yes, this is also another scenario where obviously the device tunnel, and I'm talking about this would happen where you would have a device tunnel which can only be set up with the ICE2, and there will be some situations where the ICE tunnel will be subject to either it's behind a splash screen page or some firewall does not permit this traffic. So if the device tunnel didn't connect and after the logon, we can have a backup tunnel as well, or we can just have two tunnels running side by side. yes, so these two options are available. So the second tunnel will be a SSTP based. That would be the preferred one. There will be some, yes, so there will be some changes we have to make because there is something Microsoft still has to do in terms of the VPN strategy. So we can work around all these things, and we can make this either backup or active passive, or depending on the customer requirement. And this is kind of a pretty much a scenario with all our customers where we do recommend having a backup tunnel, either parallel or as a passive tunnel.
Okay. Does Always On VPN support captive portal?
Yes, that's also a good question. Obviously, what the guidelines are from the NCSC that you have to go with a captive portal app, which is available at the moment for Always On VPN. It will not be compatible with the device tunnel because there is no way to input that the settings while the device hasn't booted properly, like it's before the login screen. But the user tunnel, there is an app, captive portal IP helper portal, which can be used to basically fill in all the details, and then the tunnel will establish. But this is again a manual process.
Okay, I think you've covered this question. Just let me know if you have. How can we migrate to Always On VPN from DirectAccess on a live remote workforce?
Yes, so as I said, this is possible. We just need to set up a parallel system, which will not interfere with the existing DirectAccess, as long as we have set up all the things separately, and the firewall rules and everything are set up properly. We can migrate live the endpoints from one system to another.
Okay, that's it for the questions that were submitted ahead of time. So we've now got 7 questions, sorry, to answer live questions. If anybody else wants to add any more questions, just type away and we can read those out as well. So the first question is, how does Kemp address NAT-T issues when connecting over IKE version 2?
Okay, that's a good question. So sorry, can you just repeat that again? I just wanted to hear.
Yeah. How does Kemp address
okay.
Okay.
Got it. So with the IKE2, what happens, obviously, it's a NAT traversal. So the client will initiate the connection on the UDP 500 port, and that they will try to use it. Either server or client is behind a NAT device, and pretty much it will happen in most of the scenarios, because obviously either the client or most probably the server which we would normally deploy would be behind a NAT device. So once they detected that they are behind a NAT, they will switch to UDP 4500. And obviously, if we are using a load balancer, the load balancer also needs to make sure that it basically, when it's moved, when the same client who initiated the connection on port 4500 now is sending the connection on UDP 4500, the load balancer maintain that persistence and send this follow-up connection onto the same server, so it can continue the connection establishment. And Kemp has a nice feature. It's called port following, through which we can achieve this one. And this is kind of a very good feature, and that's also applicable on the radius side, where if you are using accounting and authentication, and where also the client go from 1812 to UDP 1812 to 1813 ports, and the same thing we can apply there as well. And Kemp, we can achieve this with the Kemp using a feature called port following.
Okay. Does Always On VPN support SSL offloading?
Yes, so Microsoft has that's the Microsoft option, which Microsoft have provided on the RAS, routing and remote access service, for SSTP, which is a proprietary protocol for Microsoft, equivalent to SSL. And yes, the SSL offloading is available, so we can again use Kemp. Again, any other third party would also do the same, but I think the Kemp has this feature as well, where we can basically offload the SSL onto the Kemp, and that provide a resource utilization feature. So you can literally have just a HTTP connection which was terminated on the camp, and the camp can do further inspection as well, and it can do all the heavy lifting, and then it can just send this as a pure simple HTTP connection to the RAS server, which means the RAS server don't have to allocate a lot of CPU and memory to decrypt and encrypt this connection. So that's possible on a RAS server, and also the camp can achieve this.
Okay. Are there any issues using NetScalers as the load balancers?
No, that I'm aware of. I think NetScaler is also one of the load balancers available in the market. So all vendors have different they call these things which I've just described. So as long as any load balancer can provide the port following feature, it should be perfect, and also provide the health checks for monitoring the service. So it will be a good fit.
Okay. Will Device Tunnel support SSTP in the future?
We don't know yet. Again, that's something that Microsoft has to do and develop this. But I think that would be there's a few things which been being suggested to be included on the device tunnel, and I think that's one of them. That obviously the device tunnel is very good. Some people do like it, but unfortunately it's only IKE2 at the moment. IKE2 does give a lot of security benefits, and obviously it is susceptible to being intercepted. That's one of its drawbacks, but this does have its own security benefits. But we don't know yet. Again, we can just wait. If Microsoft wants to add this to the device, then that would be a very good choice.
Okay. Can you have multiple gateways for always on VPN depending on your location? For example, different gateway if you're working from home versus working in an office, and how does it auto detect without split DNS?
So we can if it's a question, I'm just trying to understand what is supported is obviously these are all possible scenarios, but I'm just trying to think. So normally we would want to have a single FQDN on the client, because obviously there is no any intelligent way of client automatically switching between connection FQDNs like the way it was doing with the multi-site with DirectAccess. So with the always on VPN, we can have more than one FQDN under the profile, but that would be a manual process. So the best thing is to use a GSLB, like the camp can do global server load balancing, and you have a one global FQDN, and then on that FQDN, the client will go to the camp. The camp will then decide, depending on the algorithm, depending on the requirement the customer has set, to route that client connection to that site or site or closest site. So these are all these things which are possible.
Okay. I'm using the Windows load balancer for load balancing. I'm finding it difficult to work with because it fails all of the time. Is Kemp easy to set up, and how would I do this through Celestics?
Windows obviously load balancer do have some operational performance issues. Obviously it depends on infrastructure, and obviously it's not unicast, it's either multicast or broadcast. So yes, if you're having problems with existing NLB, then we can pretty much what's that question with I'm not sure whether they're using DirectAccess or always on, but let's say if they're using DirectAccess, it will be obviously we can have the camp. We will spec the requirement for to find a suitable appliance, whether physical or virtual. Once that's been done, we have the camp provision set up. It's on all the networking is done. Then, if it's a DirectAccess, we will simply switch from a Windows load balancing to external. But before we do that, we've been doing this with our existing customer during this pandemic. We have migrated customers from Windows to external load balancer, and it does have a lot of performance benefits. So we can do that. That's no problem. It can be done with less disruption as well. So yes, that's possible.
Okay, thank you. Lots of mention of KEMP, safe assumption that F5 and other load balancers are easy to get set up and running on always on VPN.
Correct. Yes, that's correct. As I said, all the load balancers have to support, and I think pretty much they are supporting these features, like the one I mentioned about port following, SSL loading. I think that's also possible. GSLB features. So these are all the features which they have to support, and then yeah, they can be used.
Okay, and then the last question we've got at the moment, does Always On VPN support multi-site in the same way as what's available via DirectAccess?
We can use the multi-site feature, but it is not as you have in the DirectAccess way, because as I said earlier, that the Always On VPN does not have either load balancing or multi-site built into the always on feature, as it was with the DirectAccess. Like you can enable a multi-site, you can enable or disable load balancing through Windows, through DirectAccess feature. So that's why it is not as you would see in the DirectAccess, where the client can switch between between sites, but any traffic manager and, as I said, a KEMP can be used to achieve this functionality in a pretty much similar fashion.
Okie doke. Is there any other questions before we wrap this up? I just give it sort of 30 seconds if anybody did want to type another question. Is there anything you would like to sort of summarize with, Majid, in terms of moving from DirectAccess to Always On? Majid, is there anything you would like to sort of say just to round it up?
Yes, I think Always On VPN does give a lot of benefits, I would say. It is not infrastructure dependent, as with the DirectAccess, it is pretty much group policy, and it needs to be on the domain. It needs to be able to communicate with the domain. So Always On VPN, we can literally just put in DMZ. There is no need the server to be on the domain or a member of the domain. It does not depend whether you have multiple forests. So it kind of gives a lot of benefits over DirectAccess. But I'm not saying DirectAccess is not good, but DirectAccess was developed at the time. It still works, and it's still providing meeting customer requirements. But if we talk about future, then obviously at the moment everything is moving to cloud. So DirectAccess is not cloud. Like it doesn't support any of the new features. Always On VPN support Windows Hello with Windows Hello with Business with certificate mode. It can be integrated with the VIP as well, Windows Integrated Protection. It does gives you a lot of customization option with the DirectAccess. It was either you have a split tunnel or a forced tunnel. And I know people have been asking this question: can we have a split tunnel for one set of user and a forced tunnel for one set of user? And it was not possible. With the DirectAccess, anything we do, we have to make a change on the server, which means there is the potential of a service disruption or maybe a downtime. So with the Always On VPN, we set up the servers with the standard configuration right at the start, and pretty much that's it. We don't really visit the server very often because everything is at the client side. We set up the client profiles. You can have a different profile, different VPN profile per user, per device, and there is some number of benefits Microsoft has provided, like you can control traffic filtering feature is also very good. You can manage like what is allowed to traverse the tunnel by the way of using 5 tuples, like destination port, source port, protocol. Even you can have a per app policies as well. I mean, there's quite a few features which Microsoft has provided in Always On VPN, which worth looking. And I think I think this is a good replacement, where the customers were still using like any vendor based, like a firewall, like a Cisco AnyConnect or all these things. They were still using as a backup when they still have the DirectAccess, because some things literally just don't work. And I think with the addition of this Always On VPN tunnels, I think that people can rely on this technology rather than just having an additional backup solution. So I think that I can still talk about the features, but I think the always-on VPN is cloud ready. It can well integrated into Azure. All the new features which Microsoft will be bringing into the cloud, they will be compatible with this technology. So it's just the right time to decide when you want to move.
Thank you. We've got another couple of questions here. If someone finds DirectAccess is a better fit, can they upgrade to Windows 2019 and use DirectAccess?
Yes, there is, because the Server 2012 is almost coming to an end. So yes, there is no in-place upgrade. So it's not like literally you just upgrade Server 2012. Obviously, you have to go Server 2012, 16, and 19. So the feature we can't upgrade in place. So what we need to do is, depending on the customer environment, if they have a single server, then it will be it will be a bit difficult, because obviously we would need to rebuild the system. So when we rebuild them, so what will happen, we will ask you to, either if it's a physical or virtual, depending on what appliance you have, we will build a new operating system, Server 2019, and we will configure the DirectAccess. That is a single scenario. If you have a HA pair, then that's very good, because we can drop one server, we can upgrade server 2019, and then we can bring that node back in, and then you have the same configuration applied on the box, but now the box is running 2019. That's how we can migrate, and we've been doing this with our existing customers as well.
Thank you. How do you deploy the always-on VPN profile?
There are three options. One is the manual option it's a PowerShell script. So one is like using a PowerShell script. Then again, depending on the type of tunnel, the device tunnel can be on. As I said, it has to be provisioned under the system account. That's why if using a manual option, then the PS tools will be needed to provision the tunnel. The other option is you can use Intune or you can use SCCM. There are quite a few other managers, configuration manager, or other options, or any third-party MDM can also do that.
Okay, so that's it now for all the questions. So I think we'll wrap up now. If anybody would like to have a one-to-one with Majid, or you would like to have a POC, or you just like to explore things a bit further, or have a demo, please come back to me. My email is natalie@celestix.com, or you can send it to info@celestix.com, and we can set that up for you anytime. We will put this recording out somewhere on our YouTube channel probably, and I'll also email it to you all, so that there's a reference if there's any questions that you just didn't have a chance to write down. Okay, so thank you so much everybody for attending, and have a great day, and we will run another session like this in about another 4 to 6 weeks roughly. So you're most welcome to join us again. If there's other questions that you wanted to ask, but anytime you want to reach out, please do so. Thanks ever so much.